Alright, after all of those problems that we had with the overlays, sorry about that guys, I'm with Vixx, Kiz, and Sylvos. So Kiz, StarCraft 2 player and Dota 2 player, Vixx, founder of Southern Cross Dota, and Sylvos, captain and mid player of SYF, been there for a while. How are you guys? I'll start with you, Vixx, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad we finally got this going.
Yeah, the quality of the overlay isn't quite how I would like, but it took a while to get started, just because of the actual materials that I had and the time that I had, which is a bit of a pity. Kiz, how are you going? Well, I'll continue on to Sylvos. How are you going?
Hey mate, I'm doing well.
You're doing well. Kiz, your mic is a little bit muted.
I think Vix has her mic muted in TeamSpeak. There she go.
Yeah, that was my
Hi
bad.
there.
I totally forgot to click the push to talk button. Yeah, I'm good though. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're good. So here to talk about Dota anyway. So I've done the basic introductions. I'm really glad to have you guys here. So we're here to start talking about the tournaments and basically what's been going on recently. The Oceanic Steel Series tournament, the Defense of the Australians, the Silicon Oceanic Cup, the Tides Wrath Cyber Gamer, also the Cyber Gamer Pro League, AWC October tournaments, and also the upcoming tournaments, the SYF Gaming Cup, the Gaming Dota 2 Cup, the G1 League East qualifiers, and all of that jazz. So much is going on. It's really exciting. Um, what tournament in particular do you guys fancy the most at the moment? I know some of you will be a little biased, maybe, but
Am I allowed to be biased? Is that can I be biased?
yeah, you can be biased if you want to.
I would say Tide's Wrath, but perhaps some clear bias there. I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, though. I think just the fact that there is so much going on is the awesome part.
Yeah, well, I can actually go ahead and swap straight on to the upper brackets and lower brackets of the tournament at the moment, so we can chat about that. So I've got a screenshot of that here. So this is the top half of the upper bracket. Noxious Gaming getting beaten by YMC. Was that an upset? Did you guys expect that?
I did not expect that, but I was super happy with it.
You're happy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
everyone loves an underdog.
don't hate on me, Noxious Gaming, but I was surprised to say the least. YMC, have you guys heard of these guys before?
I think they were going by the Incredibles and then they changed to YMC. They have the mid player Tian Fuzin, who's the mid player from iPlay, and he's a very good player. He just took a game off of Slicks in the 1v1 competition that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they're using Yifan, and they'll probably be using Guani as well, since I know that he plays with them. So that you've got some pretty strong, like high skill level players there.
Yeah,
Basically
Guani,
speaking.
I thought he was going to be playing for Can't Say Whips, but I guess
He does play with Kansei Whoops as well, but he's really good friends with Yifan, who's on the YMC team.
Yeah, and at the moment, Hans vs Mate in 6, kind of interested to know how that's going to go, and if they do get through, then it could be either a Team Storm versus the YMC game in the semis. So this is the other side of the upper bracket. A lot of strong teams here.
It looks like Hans has already taken game 1 from
Yeah,
Made in
I was going
6.
to say game one's pretty wrapped up. It's interesting. There's actually some pretty strong teams in the lower bracket as well. Like Venom Gaming are down there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would have been surprised. Just as much as it's surprising Nox is down that way. Seeing Venom down there is pretty crazy too.
Yeah, well, I didn't expect that, but it was Venom versus Can't Say Whips in that first match. So that's a bit of a pity. That's a bit of a pity for them. Can't Say Whips actually beating down Azure 2-0 in a very quick best of 3, and Azure actually disbanded. If you guys heard about that, which is a total.
Oh,
shame.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is disappointing. I mean, they still have a lot of tournaments they're in the middle of, so obviously decided they couldn't work together anymore.
They just straight up dropped out of CGP, which means we lost a win from that, which is unfortunate. Team Storm from CGP is pretty much disbanded as well. That's Akira's team. I Play from CGP is pretty much disbanded as well. So I think with the Australian community, you've got to have you can't really run tournaments over six months or 2 months even, because teams don't last that long sometimes. But I'm happy that things are happening as they are anyway.
Yeah,
especially in the Australian scene, I think where a lot of teams just kind of slap together and break up after a tournament sort of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Australian teams kind of disband after they lose horrifically, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
If someone has to lose, so
yeah.
it's sort of a terrible attitude to have, but I guess you've got to also work out who you can play with, and if you feel like you're not with the right people, not just in terms of skill and Dota, but personality clashes, I think, are pretty common. Then there's not much point continuing.
Yeah, the player pool in Australia is also quite a lot smaller, but then we have SYF, which took down Melanie Iglesias' fan club. I think I'm saying that right. So it's going to be SYF versus Can't Say Whips. How are you feeling about that, Sylvos?
I would say we're the underdogs going into that game. Fortunately, however, in the past, we've actually had pretty good success against Can't Say Whips. We knocked them out of GMPGL in the second round. I think the last few times we've played versus them, we've beaten them as many times as they've beaten us.
Yeah, well, the new patch is a pretty big deal, so...
Yeah, that is. And the new patch has benefited our team more than taken away from our team, because we weren't really strong on games where we were versing a 4 Protect 1 or versing, say, a Tinker or heroes like that. Rat Dota was really good against us, and now Rat Dota has kind of come out specifically with... Sorry, one sec.
So,
vanished.
And he's gone. But,
conversation. That's all right.
What he was going to say was... I think what he was going to say was that... Oh, yep, continue.
Yeah, so with the buyback changes, we're better against teams that rely on buybacks and those 4v5 kind of fights, specifically with Furion and stuff. Yeah, SYF has always been a very aggressive team that tries to take games pretty early if we can.
Yeah. So
have you guys been picking a lot of Pugner and shit? A lot of really early pushing heroes?
Not so much Pugner. We did pick it in that one Tides Wrath game versus... versus Rest, I'm pretty sure. That was versus you guys.
Yeah.
And that was pretty fun. But
I was really devastated, man, when we played those matches, because I knew we could have taken those games if it was the patch before. I knew we could have. I think we've dropped one match to you before, in the old patch, and then this new patch comes out and it completely favors your team. But that's it happens sometimes, and we're gonna try and get better in this new patch. But it's not about our team. It's more about you guys and what you guys are up to, which is quite cool. I'm going to continue on to the losers bracket. Or I should say the lower bracket to make it sound
less mean.
Sound less mean, yeah, exactly. So one team that's kind of stuck out to me is Venom Gaming. Well, actually, there have been a couple of teams. You've got Venom Gaming, Yellow Solomid, Urnado, and Noxious Gaming, and all of those teams to me have kind of stuck out as being really strong teams. Urnado in particular have been doing really well recently. Do you guys know anything about them?
We've versed them a few times, and I think they actually managed to beat us 1 or 2 times when we were just experimenting with different drafts and whatnot. Not using our full teams and stuff like that as well, but they seem pretty strong, but I don't think their individual skill, they don't have really high individually skilled players, which is always going to hurt a team, but their teamwork seems to be pretty good.
It'll be interesting, the fact that, in terms of their opponents so far in the bracket, I don't think TOA would have been particularly challenging, and MTS Esports as well can be a little inconsistent. So it'll be interesting to see if they have to face off against a harder opponent, perhaps, how they handle that.
Yeah, yeah, teams that have a lot of versatility in their lineups, like Kansai Whips, for example, or Hans, they can run either that defensive strategy or they can run an aggressive strategy. A lot of the teams that have had a lot less practice will have a lot of trouble versing those types of teams, as you said. It's about consistency, but at the same time, you need to have the versatility to be able to verse a whole bunch of different kind of styles. But I'm going to continue on to the next part. So we've got the SYF tournament, which is quite exciting. I'm probably going to, well, actually, not probably, I've already entered it. And if you're going to enter a tournament, I suggest you should enter this as well. November 9th to November 10th. Looking pretty good, actually. Looking pretty good. I think, if anything, another tournament straight after Tide's Wrath is always a good thing. Tide's Wrath has been a pretty big tournament for the Oz scene. I would say one of the biggest yet, which is a great thing for the Oz community. What do you guys think about this tournament in particular?
The SYF or the Tide's Wrath?
SYF one?
SYF one, yeah, sorry.
It's running over 2 days, so it's not going to be such a big tournament. I think the prizes are really big, considering it is only running over 2 days.
Yeah, prizes relative to gameplay is pretty huge. It does have an entry fee though. So.
Yeah,
yes, but I think
entry fee.
I think entry fees are good specifically for Australian gaming because you have a lot of teams that are actually really weak, and like a lot of like 5 friends that just get together and play a team kind of thing. And with an entry fee, it kind of weeds out a lot of those teams. But that said, if you look at CGA, the amateur division of the Cyber Gamer League or whatever, you can see there's like 20 teams or something that have entered, and that was not a very small entry fee as well. That was a lot more than $20. So
I guess it can be a bit like two-sided there. I mean, it's great having an entry fee. It helps boost the prize pool, weeds out the teams that don't take it seriously. But, I mean, the Australian team is pretty new. It's just starting. And if you have every single tournament with an entry fee, it can discourage people from just having a go. I mean, new teams might think, well, why pay the money if we're just going to get knocked out after, 2 games or whatever. So...
Exactly. That's the point. This is why it's so good that you have tournaments like Tide's Wrath running, that a lot of people actually think it's a negative thing that there are so many best of 3s in Tide's Wrath. But I actually really like the fact that there's so many best of 3s, because it just means that the Australian Dota scene in general gets so much more experience at competitive Dota than if it was just best of 1s all the way up until like the semi-finals or the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think if it was every tournament was free to play, like that wouldn't be quite as good. But if every tournament was pay to play, like I think you would kind of hurt the scene a little bit. I think having like a good mixture of both really helps, because like a lot of teams just get better just by playing together. Like there's such a big difference between just scrimming or just like team matchmaking and like actually playing in a tournament together and having that pressure on you. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, there's nothing different than playing in a tournament kind of scenario and knowing that if you lose, you're out of the whole tournament. Like, you've got to pretty much throw everything that you've got at that match, rather than just in a scrim where, the pressure is on, but it's not quite the same thing, if that makes sense. But I'm going to continue on to the pro.
Yeah.
So we've got the next thing. So we've got Kansai Whips, SYF, Hans, Noxious, Team Storm, Maintenance 6, and iPlay, all in the tournament.
Is this Cyber Gamer?
That's the Cyber Gamer Pro League.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just making sure I've got the right page open.
Yep, that's okay. I'll just link that there.
I guess the interesting thing in this is, I mean, I haven't looked in detail about who's played what games, but the fact that Kansai Whips are seemingly a far way in front of Hans, I guess, who would everyone pegs as the favourite, and that Nox is down 4th in this at the moment. So.
Yeah, Nox 4th. I was a little bit surprised. I have to say, Sylvos, I'm sorry, but I was a little bit surprised when you guys beat Hans in that first match.
I wasn't.
You weren't surprised?
Confidence there, it's what we like to see.
One of our players put rares on the enemy team beating us.
Alright, so
slack.
you jinxed Hans by doing that.
No, he actually thought Hans was going to win it, but we knew going into that game if we were Radiant, what we were going to do, and if we were Dire, what we were going to do, and we got the exact draft that we wanted with the exact heroes that we wanted. Let us play our gameplay exactly the way in which we wanted to play it. As soon as they picked the Morphling, we knew, like, for a fact that it was our game to lose from there kind of thing. That pick was, I don't think they quite knew what we were doing with our picks when they picked the Morphling. Their level 1 Roche fight, like if they wanted to actually come and fight us at Roche, was not going to work out well for them either. It is important to note that there are only 7 teams in the CGP league because Azure did actually completely drop out. So some teams have lost a win so
they didn't give a forfeit.
So they didn't give a forfeit for that. They took wins away from teams that have actually... So, like, we should be on 4 wins and 1 loss, and I think Hans would be on 4 wins and 1 loss, and Nox would be on 4 wins and 1 loss. This doesn't matter for SYF because Concept Whips, Hans, and SYF have essentially already qualified. But it does matter for Team Nox because Storm and Mate in 6 could both potentially knock out Team Nox if they win their remaining games.
Yeah, well, that's actually a pretty huge deal. I don't think that's really that fair, but I guess, it is how the cookie crumbles. Noxious Gaming have been playing pretty well recently. Even though they are on the losers bracket, pretty strong team, pretty formidable, been around for quite a while, before they were kind of AQ, kind of just a whole bunch of pub stompers, and now they've kind of ended up being Noxious Gaming. Hopefully they stick around and don't disband like some of the other Australian teams. Putting it lightly there, but yeah, I
think they've been stable for long enough, and I mean, even if they don't perhaps get through on this event because of that bad luck, they're doing well in the other events that are around, and they've had a recent win. What did they win recently? I can't remember what it is.
I think the Daredevils Cup or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, they've had enough good results to hopefully, if you're a team and you're constantly losing everything you try your hand at, local lands, everything like that, that's where you're probably more likely to disband.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm just giving them a bit of bad rep, so...
To be honest, I'd have to disagree with what you said before when you said Nox have been playing really good lately. I think when they were playing that Daredevil Cup, they were playing extremely well then, and they beat Hans. Yep. But since then, they haven't actually had that good results. You can see they've already been knocked out of Tide's Wrath into the losers bracket, and then they dropped the game versus Seraphic Nexus, who you wouldn't consider one of the higher teams in the Australian DotA scene. So they actually dropped the game to them. That said, SYF drops a game to lower ranked teams, as I would say, all the time. Because we're one of the teams that we run weird strats every third game or every second game we'll play a strat that you've probably never seen before, kind of thing. We do drop games here and there to teams that we probably shouldn't be getting beaten by.
Yeah, I don't
in
think...
the same vein though, that can make you beat a lot of teams that you also shouldn't as well. It's a bit of a coin flip, but
exactly
pretty good usually actually.
I don't think Noxious are really the type of team to run really strange strats. So, in a straight up game of Dota, you probably should beat the lesser teams every single time, especially in a tournament kind of scenario. So I would agree with you. However, they are very, very good players, and I'm good. Well, I'm not good friends. I'm friends with some of them.
We have a good rivalry going, me and Moops.
Rivalry? Is this drama?
Yeah. No, there's no bad manners between us.
No bad manners?
So much esports drama.
Yep, all of the drama, pretty much. All of it. All
Just fight at a LAN or something.
Yeah.
We just have a rivalry going. It's always nice to beat the other team, and when we verse each other, we play extra hard, and happy fun times. Anyway.
But anyway, I'll continue on. So we're going to go on to the item here. So I'll start with you, Vixx. So
Please make it an easy question.
Won't keep you around.
Make it a hard question. That way I don't look so bad if I get it wrong.
It's alright. So The first question, drum roll. Oh god.
Oh, great. Do I get a phone a friend
Don't look at
option?
the stream. Okay. Name 5 female heroes in Dota 2.
Ah, that's not so bad. I'll probably still screw it up. All right, Crystal Maiden. Oh, do you want their name or the hero name?
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
All right. Luna, Lena, Death Prophet, and what haven't I said? Vengeful Spirit. There you go.
Yep, that's 5. Congratulations.
I count to 5?
Okay, so you got the first
Vengeful
one right.
Spirit is technically a spirit and doesn't have
Dude.
talent.
She has huge boobs, okay? I'm pretty sure that's a
Vengeful
woman.
Spirit is definitely
There
a
is
lady.
nothing manly going on there at
Stop
all.
being so cisgendered, man. Jesus.
Alright, so that's 1 item to the fans, so I'll sort that out after everything else. Who came third in the International 3? A. Alliance. B. Navi. C. Orange. Or D.
I said make it easy.
Tong Fu.
Mental blank. Orange.
Yep. The answer is C.
They should have come second. Poor Mushy.
The answer is C. Orange. I'm really glad you got that. Okay, so
Kung Fu or Scrubs. I'm glad they didn't come. I'm so glad Orange came third in that. Anyway.
So
Alright,
the
moving on. Mushy
everyone
fangirl
gets
here,
items at
anyway.
the end. So
Yeah.
stick around and you'll get items. Very exciting. How much damage does a Lion Ultimate, aka Finger of Death, do at level 3?
I'm so not going to get this right.
A. 850. B. 750. C. 900. Or D. 90 million.
I don't want to say D. No, that's not my answer. I'm going to get this wrong. I'm just going to guess, and you can all laugh at me. I'm going to go with C.
C. 900?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. No, but yes. I don't play
well, it's
Lion. He's
locked
the
in.
ugliest hero in the
C,
game.
the answer was A, 850.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Why
that
would
was-
you pick Lion? That hero's just not good looking.
Well, I don't want to give
don't
all my
play that
rares
hero.
away, okay? So I've got to make
Alright.
some questions hard.
Yep.
So, yep, that was that. I'm going on to the other part of the item here. So, Sylvos, it's now your time. These questions are a lot harder, so.
Oh, jeez.
So, your favorite hero here. For the hero Outward Devourer, what is the cooldown of his ultimate Sanity Eclipse at level 1? A. 180. B. 160. C. 200. Or D.
160.
190. 160? Alright. So the answer was 160. So you get that one right. Ding, 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 ding. Awesome. So, 3 rares so far. Dang. Should have made that one harder. Well, they get harder, so it's okay. Question 2. You probably will actually get this one as well. What is the cooldown to Vacuum on Darkseer at level 3? A?
28 seconds.
Yep, okay.
No hesitation.
Order. Yeah. Question 3. What is the damage per second on a level 3 Doom ability with the Agnihim's
God, who plays Doom?
A.
Yeah,
80.
see?
B. 70. C. 100. Or D. 110. You're not allowed to Google it.
Yeah, I'll go with
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'll go with 100.
100? Okay, so the answer was 110. So
Yeah.
both of you do as well as each other, so you're both as knowledgeable, clearly, of Dota. So good
How does
job.
that make you feel, Sylvos? You'd probably be ashamed of yourself right now.
Are you?
Doom. Who picks Doom? I never picked Doom.
Wait,
Yeah, well-
did you know the answer to the Lion Ultimate question?
Yes, I did.
Ah, shit.
I knew that one, man. Come on.
He's a really ugly hero. He looks like he's got the double chin going on. It's just not good.
All
Sure,
right.
you can empathize with him then and be like,
So we're going to be talking about the new meta and all the patch notes and stuff like that now. So
My favorite.
all of the exciting bits coming out at the end of the talk show. We could talk about the heroes that are kind of being picked a lot, maybe the heroes that are being banned, the heroes that are way too strong, maybe Lich if you agree with me, what needs to be changed, what needs to be nerfed, what needs to be buffed maybe, and what we think of the new changes to the experience, the awards, and all of that jazz. We could start with maybe the nighttime change, the 4-minute cycle for day and night. So do you have anything to say about that, Sylvos? The 4-minute
Yes, I
cycle?
do. I think it is a significant buff to certain heroes that excel at nighttime, such as Luna and Night Stalker. With Night Stalker, it means that you can have a lot more time with his ultimate, using it during the day and replacing day and whatnot like that. So it actually means that Night Stalker is a lot more effective. The fact that he gets effective 4 minutes into the game is very significant for Night Stalker as well. Recently I've been running him as a dual mid, and then at 4 minutes you just rotate him out of the lane and go gank other lanes and get your support, something like a Venomancer or a Rubik that excels with levels, and he can just sit there and hold the lane while the Night Stalker goes and does his ganking thing during nighttime.
Yeah, the thing I would say about Night Stalker in particular, usually at the 4-minute mark you're about level 4.5, so you don't get that darkness. You don't get the level 6 darkness that you would want as soon as the first nighttime comes. So usually you will get that first darkness maybe, if you're lucky, at the end of the first nighttime, which is pretty good given that 25% reduction that you now get from his ultimate, which is pretty ridiculous really. The one interesting thing about that nighttime change is the ward change as well. Before, the ganking timer was around 6 minutes when all the wards go down, because the wards, they lasted 6 minutes, but now they last 7 minutes. So the ganking timing has completely changed. It's gone from that 7-minute timing to maybe a 4-minute timing, 4-minute ganking push. 4-minute ganking timing, because that's when the nighttime comes and smoke now doesn't get revealed by sentry wards. So how do you guys think that's going to kind of change the meta?
I actually think it, to be honest, like Night Stalker kind of got buffed, but I think the nighttime change, making it 4 minutes, actually doesn't help him quite as much, because before you'd hit 6 minutes at nighttime and you'd be about level 6, maybe level 7. And you'd be a lot stronger when you'd be going ganking, but like now a lot of people get like, oh, it's nighttime, I have to go gank, holy crap, and you're like level 4, 4.5 maybe. And it's like, it's a lot more risky, I feel, because like if you go gank and they stay back and they, you're not very fast, because you only have 1 or 2 levels of your nighttime buff if you want to go the point of silence and then the 2 points of void as well, let's say level 4. Like, you're actually not very quick yet, and you don't even have treads usually by 4 minutes unless you've had really good free farm, but not free farm, but like really good farm, which you typically don't in mid lane against like a stronger mid. So I actually feel like it can be better, like if you go and get the gank off and it actually succeeds. Like, I think it's a lot better, but I think it's a lot more risky than what it is at like 6-minute timer. Like, I feel like just the timing's worked out a little bit better at 6. But other, of course, than his night and the buffs to the wards being nerfed with the vision and all the rest of it though. So that's my thoughts.
Night Stalker aside, I mean, it's not just about him as a hero, but you're right, the early ganking is a big thing now, and it seems like this and the last patch as well is all about making the game more action-packed. It's not... I think IceFrog's trying to avoid these jungle farming games where we're all just watching PvE for the first 6 minutes or so. Of course, Hand of Midas not quite working out there, but
I was going to say, I think we've
really
seen more
need to go ganking
Midases.
now.
Yeah,
Like,
more
it's
Midas.
not as easy to get levels and gold off the jungle as a support now, apart from Midas. So I guess the intention there is to try and encourage more of that early ganking, early action.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and like changes to Tranquil Boots in particular agrees with that statement that you just said. Now that 85 movement speed that you get for just running around without attacking anything, it pretty much is a huge buff to a lot of support heroes, Crystal Maiden in particular, with 280 movement speed. now is a race car hero. You know, she just runs around like the Flash. She has instant
Spells,
transmission.
Sorry, I don't usually play support. Spells don't break it, does it? It's only the auto attack.
Correct.
It's only the auto attack.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
taking
That's
damage.
Yeah, she's so annoying.
even
Taking
without
self damage doesn't break it either. So
Yeah,
using Abaddon's first skill on someone else means that you can just use your own health to buff people up all day.
yeah, you need to take
Yeah,
3
I feel like it
instances of
actually
damage.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I feel like it's a really big buff for Abaddon actually. Like if you want to go like more of a support Abaddon as opposed to like a 2 or a 3 sort of support. Sorry, 2 or a 3 position.
Yeah, Abaddon's
Because
pretty
he's
ridiculous.
so fast. Like yeah, like he's so fast.
But you know, having tranquil boots, it's pretty much 3 instances and excluding self harm. So self harm breaks your tranquil boots, but it is 10 seconds that it takes to come back online, which isn't really that long. What you need to do is pop your heal, then run back and wait until the timer comes back up again. So it's totally worth it to buy on that hero. But you know, that 85 movement speed, it comes in a combination with the nerf to treads and phase boots. Treads and phase boots all both got a 5 movement speed buff. I mean a nerf. Jeez, what am I saying? They got a 5 movement speed nerf. So now all of the carries will have a hard time getting away from these supports with fast movement speed with tranquil boots. Even if they're broken, they have more movement speed because they're still faster with broken boots. And I don't know how that's going to change the game. I think maybe teams are going to start going towards 4 protect 1 style because it's going to be harder to protect their carries. If teams are trying to gank very early, you know, there are going to need to be supports all over the place rather than just in one spot. And you know, all of a sudden you can smoke up, gank one lane, and then smoke up, gank another, TP to a different lane, and there could be pressure anywhere in the map. So I think potentially that is going to be the meta that people will lean towards, maybe even a jungler, and going for those early ganks. I'm not really entirely sure what's going to end up happening. What do you think in terms of that for the because ganking is going to be very accessible in this patch?
I don't think it will have as big an impact as you think, as what you're saying. Because most heroes aren't getting tranquil boots anyway. Because they have actually essentially been nerfed. Most heroes will just avoid getting them, so I don't think it'll have that big an impact at all. It shouldn't change any kind of meta or whatnot. I think the nighttime changes are the biggest thing to change the meta. It means that there's more ganks on mid, there's much more dual lanes, there's much more dual mids as well. Junglers have been significantly nerfed in terms of experience in this last patch, if you recall.
Yep.
So they really wanted to try and get lots of 2v2 matchups and 1v1 matchups, not this whole tri-lane meta where it was just defensive try against an offlaner and on either side of the map.
It's Ice Frog trying to kick people out of the jungle and back onto lanes. The same thing with the offlane getting a buff is, you know, you would see offlaners just abandoning their lane and going and jungling or doing ancients, and I guess that's not the sort of game that they want to see happening. Not very good for spectators, I must say.
Yeah, I feel like the offlane change is probably the biggest one. Like now your offlane just gets so many more levels so much quicker, and like then you can, like once you rotate your offlaner out into the rest of the map, like they can do so much damage. Like Clockworks and Liches, once they get like level 6, 7, like as soon as they kind of hit that, they come into the fights, and it's just like it just changes so much. Like
I don't think you should be able to verse a Lich on the offlane because it should always be banned out in the first phase.
well, yeah. Assuming
Pretty
it doesn't
much.
get banned out, like yeah, like just a lot of the offlaners feel a lot stronger these days, like than usual.
Yeah.
There isn't a hero in the game that beats a Lich in a 1v1 scenario because he just gets 1.5 times more experience. Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and that denial
Yeah, I think he's
as well.
like. Yeah, I think he's got like the same ban pick as like Wisp did during TI3, doesn't he? Or like even higher. Like he's like in 100% of pick or ban, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something different than that, honestly. But
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like.
the thing that I found really interesting about the offlane, obviously the creeps come closer to the tower, but it's in combination with that, you also have a higher experience AoE gaining. So before it was 1.2k AoE that you get experience from, and now it's 1.3k units AoE. So pretty much, if you're within an Earthshaker fissure range of that creep dying, no matter who gets the last hit on it, if it's a neutral, you're going to get the experience for that, and that is pretty huge if you ask me. If you're, even an Invoker offlane or a Bounty Hunter offlane, you don't even need to get close, so it's going to be really hard to shut those type of heroes down. I think that change, the change to the neutrals, everything sharing as well, just ridiculous for the offlane in particular. It's pretty much going to change a lot of the heroes that people are going to pick, and we've seen it already that the strategies and the heroes being picked have changed quite dramatically. But I think that with that in mind, the experience change, the dual laning meta that you're talking about means that some heroes will kind of strive a lot more. Maybe Lone Druid. Do you think that hero will do pretty well in this meta?
I think Lone Druid will do a little bit better, but the main hero that got buffed is Timbersaw. I think Darkseer, we actually had quite a big debate in our team about this, whether Darkseer actually got a nerf or a buff, because because the offlane is now closer to your tower, and he will just push it straight back to their tower. And I actually am of the opinion that it was a nerf, with the offlane position specifically there. But Timbersaw,
a little bit. Sorry, yeah, but
Timbersaw definitely got buffed on that, being able to zip over back to his tower really easily here.
In terms of core items, Timbersaw got a buff as well. Bloodstone doing the 10 damage as well. Little buffs like that.
Bloodstone actually got a much bigger buff than the plus 10 damage indirectly, because buying back is so much worse in this patch. Yeah. Buying back actually punishes your hero so much more than doing anything else. The Bloodstone actually got a significantly buff because of that, because obviously it reduces your spawn time. So with regards to that, I think that's why Bloodstone will actually get picked up more in this patch if it does. Plus 10 damage is irrelevant. Most heroes that are picking up Bloodstone don't really go for damage anyway, so obviously good. But
it feels weird having seeing a lot of dual lines come back. I think you'll see a lot of two stunners again, like Linus Fan or somebody around those sort of things, maybe. But because of this, or like we've seen in the other matches. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was gonna say we saw a tri-lane mid the other day in Tide's Wrath. That was interesting.
Did it work though? That's the question.
Yes, it did. It completely, for some insane reason, worked. Maybe not a legit strat usually, but it was amusing. I'd like.
Yeah, I bet it was amusing. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing 5 people mid, but that doesn't always happen either, unfortunately.
Less amusing for the guy who was playing mid on I think it was Venom. I think he found it.
That's one cool thing. We've seen a lot more Venomancer players, which I kind of like. I like Veno, like a roaming Veno. That's that was one of my favorite things to do back in the days.
I'm excited that Invoker's back. To be honest, I think that's a good thing.
I don't think Invoker is completely back just yet.
I don't think he's completely back, but I think he's a lot more viable than before.
He's not completely effing useless, which is what he was before. So, if that counts as being back.
Yeah, you can get 4 Forge Spirits around the level 11, level 12 if you decide to go for 1 level of Invoke, which you can do now. Because, it does give you 2 spells at level 1.
Not only that, but it makes it much quicker to get your point in Wex as well, which makes you a lot safer to ganks. A lot of the time if you're trying to rush that sort of 2 Forge Spirit, you can die really easily because you don't usually get the point in Wex if you want to be really greedy about it. So that actually, indirectly helps as well.
Yeah, I continue, sorry?
Quas Wex got significantly buffed with the EMP now draining mana.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Means
I
that
saw
you can play Invoker as this kind of team fight early game kind of hero, which he never used to be
Yeah.
able to play like that.
I'm still not as big of a fan as like the Sunstrike or the Forge Fruit Invoker, but it's cool that it's more viable. Like more times, the more options you have as when you're playing a hero, like the better. Like you don't want to be stuck in one kind of role. So
Yeah, I think, I'm really excited to see pubs as well when you hit level 25 Invoker with Refresher Agnahems, and then you pop your combo, then use your EMP, get all your mana back, and then pop your combo again. I want to see that. I'm really excited to see that. Um, I'm the type of person to go on YouTube and check out Invoker videos, with big combos, big plays, all that stuff. And I think that a lot of videos are going to come out with this new EMP mechanic, meaning that you can get a lot more of your spells off, which is pretty cool. How do you think Invoker's going to get laned if he does get picked up? How do you think you can?
Solo safe lane, or maybe dual laned at mid. Really have the option
Pretty
to.
much.
yeah, I think especially in this meta where it's easier to gank mid, that putting him like solo mid is kind of a bad idea. Like he's not really good in escapes unless you're going cost wax, and even then, if you just pick up a dust, he's pretty dead. So going safe lane's okay, I think though, but.
Whenever we do verse an Invoker, we do assume that he is going solo mid, however. That lets us gank him at level 1 as well. Invoker's the one here in the game that you've pretty much got a guaranteed gank on at level 1 because he just cannot actually do anything. He doesn't actually have a spell to cast. The same thing about Shadow Fiend as well. Put heaps of early pressure and put a mid gank on that hero at level 1 and you should get it.
Yeah, they kind of both have the same sort of problems, I think.
The last
So I
four,
love playing Shadow Fiend mid.
the last four
Sorry,
games
sorry.
that I casted as well. I found that a lot of teams, instead of using the bottle crow, the bottle is the way to get their. Sorry, the courier is the way to get their bottle. One of the supports will actually rotate in and pick up the bottle from the courier at tier 2, because they've been concerned that their courier is going to die to like a bounty hunter, for example, if he's off the map. So a lot of supports have been actually changing their playstyle completely because of the change that you can't upgrade your courier. Even in top level play, it was LGD International versus Rattlesnake last night, and a Jakiro rotated in from Rattlesnake, picked up the bottle from the courier, and sent it to their mid player instead of using the courier for it. So, the courier change is pretty interesting. It actually directly relates to the game and makes people have to change their playstyle, which I find kind of funny. Do you guys think that this is going to change anything at all? Considering maybe supports don't need to spend gold a bit earlier, they can get boots instead of upgrading the courier. Do you think that's going to change the game in any way?
I think rotating one hero into mid specifically to try and kill their courier is a little bit too much of an investment unless you specifically have wards up behind their tower kind of thing, because it's not a guaranteed thing that you'll get it.
Yeah.
However, I do think that offensive jungling is significantly buffed because of that, because you'll already be in the jungle, you'll already be in a position to actually go and just rotate across and take out their courier. You put up a ward behind their mid tower and just see when the courier's coming and you can just take it out, snipe it. Very effective.
Yeah, I think it'll it's something I have to think about a lot more. Like it won't be mindless, like, oh, just give me my courier. But like, a lot of the time we saw especially the offlaner like rotate around in the jungle and try and do stuff like that, because the offlane was like much less viable in like a solo offlane versus a tri lane. But now that offlane is like way more viable, like you probably won't want to leave the lane unless it's the support and not the offlaner. But I don't know. It depends how like people are gonna like lane everything. Because if you go for two dual lanes and then either solo mid versus solo mid, or maybe a dual lane mid and then solo somewhere else, like it's like in a dual lane it's much more obvious when someone is missing, as opposed to a tri lane where you might assume that they're just pulling or stacking or something like that, as opposed to roaming around trying to kill shit. So I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah, as Sylvos said, the offensive jungling probably the best way to get that courier snipe, and
Exactly.
and as Kez said, if you're dual laning, it's pretty obvious when a hero goes missing in a dual lane, because it's like, well, where's he gone? He must be somewhere, maybe going into mid lane, right? So it's pretty obvious. All that the mid hero really needs to do is have that awareness and back off and farm. And by the way, loving you guys in chat. SCD
It's full of my staff.
full of SCD staff.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny actually. But yeah, I probably shouldn't keep you guys too much longer. Considering it is 12:06, we did start a bit late, but I think we've talked about quite a bit of stuff, and
Only 7 p.m. here.
it's only 7 p.m. where you are. Well, it's well past midnight over here, so. But thanks for
the only good thing Western Australia is for. Sorry.
thanks for coming around and talking. Sorry it started a bit late, but there was nothing I could really do about it, and I tried my best, and I think
Technical difficulties.
yeah, a bit of technical difficulties, but this has been Between Rounds, an Oceanic scene Dota talk show hosted by me, the Evil Twig, with Kez, Vixx, and Sylvos. Sponsored by Silicon Sports, and you can find us at siliconsports.com, and you can also find me on facebook.com with the Evil Twig, Twitter, the Evil Twig, and I'm also on Twitch, which is also the Evil Twig. So pretty much everything with the Evil Twig at the end. If you guys want to do any shoutouts or advertise your own streams or your own things, you can do that now if you want.
Let's go
Just
yourself out.
shout out to the SYF Cup coming up soon. That's all I have to say. Oh, shout out to Zest as well, and thanks for hosting the 1v1 tournament tonight. It was really good entertainment.
I guess, yeah, just to all the guys in chat who seem to be mostly my staff, but the guys over at Southern Cross Dota wouldn't be able to do what we do without it. And also the Australian community for actually jumping on board, joining the forum, coming to the website to look at news. Like, without you guys coming to the site, there wouldn't be much point having it. So thanks, everyone.
All right, sweet as. So,
And hang on,
Oh, yeah.
I need to tell everybody who I am. Man, come on now. All right. So please follow me on Twitter, so I feel all cool and popular and important. That's at Hey It's Kez, just all spelled normally. And then other than that, I'll be doing some casting over the weekend for StarCraft. If you watch StarCraft, hopefully I'm getting into more Dota casting as well soon. So yeah, totally do all that. And then just thank you as well to you guys for having me. And go Australian esports.
all right.
Oh, and of course my team Silicon Sports as well. They're really awesome, sending me to events and stuff. So thank you.
All right, I'm going to go into a downtime now. So thanks for coming around, and I'll talk to you guys later on.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.